In 2025, parts of America don't feel like America anymore. Rising crime, extreme weather, economic decline, and political unrest have turned certain states into places people are fleeing from. Once thriving communities are now facing record insurance rates, mass layoffs, and infrastructure on the brink of collapse. Some of these states you might expect, others will shock you. But here's the twist. For many residents, it's not just about survival, it's about deciding when to leave, not if. Today, we're breaking down the 10 U.S. states that are no longer safe in 2025, and exactly what went wrong. 1. Florida, Climate Disaster Zone. Florida's sun and beaches have always been a magnet, but in 2025, it's also one of the most at-risk states in America. Rising sea levels, record-breaking hurricanes, and flooding events are hitting coastal cities harder than ever. This year, multiple Category 4 and 5 storms have caused billions in damages, forcing entire neighborhoods in Miami-Dade and Fort Myers to evacuate. Insurance companies are fleeing the state, or charging premiums so high that many homeowners simply can't afford to stay. In some counties, annual property insurance now costs more than the mortgage itself. The state government is scrambling to subsidize coverage, but budget shortfalls are widening. It's not just weather. Florida's booming population has worsened housing shortages and strained infrastructure. Traffic gridlock, freshwater shortages, and overwhelmed hospitals have added to the chaos. Inland areas aren't safe either. Extreme heat waves are pushing temperatures well above 100 degrees Celsius for weeks at a time. Combined with a growing threat of storm surges, toxic mold after floods, and skyrocketing insurance, many Floridians are deciding to move north. The sad truth, Florida's paradise lifestyle is turning into a high-stakes gamble with Mother Nature. And for thousands, the risk has finally become too much. Dr. 2. California, fire, flood, and financial strain. California's reputation as a land of opportunity is taking a massive hit in 2025. Wildfires have become an almost year-round threat, fueled by record droughts followed by intense, unpredictable rainstorms. Just this year, catastrophic mudslides in Santa Barbara and flooding in Sacramento have displaced thousands. The state's economy, while still huge, is under strain. Rising taxes, high housing costs, and growing homelessness in major cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco are driving residents out in record numbers. Tech layoffs have rippled into other industries, making job security shakier than ever. The insurance crisis isn't far behind Florida's. Many providers are dropping wildfire-prone areas entirely, leaving homeowners with expensive state-backed plans. Crime is also a growing concern. Smash-and-grab retail thefts and violent incidents in urban centers are making residents question their safety. For those who stay, the beauty of California is undeniable, but between the cost of living, environmental dangers, and crumbling public trust, many are asking themselves if the Golden State's sparkle is worth the growing risks. 3. Louisiana, sinking and struggling. Louisiana's unique culture, music, and food make it beloved, but its geography is turning it into a climate disaster waiting to happen. In 2025, coastal erosion is swallowing land at an alarming rate. Entire communities are disappearing into the Gulf of Mexico. Hurricane seasons are longer and more intense. Just last year's Hurricane Kendra caused $18 billion in damages across New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Flood protection infrastructure, while improved since Hurricane Katrina, is still nowhere near enough to handle the new climate reality. Insurance has become another nightmare. Some parishes have seen premiums jump over 500% in 2 years. Homeowners are either abandoning their properties or selling for pennies on the dollar. The state's economy, heavily dependent on oil, gas, and shipping, is also vulnerable. Disruptions at ports due to extreme weather are costing billions, and fishing communities are facing reduced catches due to polluted waters and warming seas. While Louisiana has always been resilient, the combination of environmental collapse, Rising living costs and constant evacuation threats are making it increasingly unlivable for the average resident. The heartbreaking reality is that parts of Louisiana could be uninhabitable within decades, and many locals have already started packing their bags. 4. Texas: heat, blackouts, and border tensions. Texas has long been a symbol of independence and opportunity, but in 2025, the state is facing challenges on multiple fronts. Extreme summer heat is breaking records, with stretches of 110-degree shift temperatures becoming the new normal. For vulnerable populations, these heat waves are deadly. The state's independent power grid, which failed disastrously during the 2021 winter storm, is still struggling. Rolling blackouts during peak heat are common, leaving millions without AC in dangerous conditions. Severe drought is hitting agriculture hard, shrinking crop yields and forcing ranchers to sell livestock early. Water shortages are also sparking disputes between rural areas and fast-growing cities like Austin, Dallas, and Houston. Crime rates in some urban areas are climbing, and tensions along the southern border have flared into violent confrontations, adding another layer of instability. While Texas remains economically strong in sectors like energy and tech, the climate strain and infrastructure vulnerabilities are pushing some families to relocate. For many Texans, it's a bitter choice: stay and endure worsening conditions, or leave behind generations of history in search of stability elsewhere. 5. Arizona: water wars and unlivable heat. Arizona's desert beauty is legendary, but in 2025, it's turning into a survival challenge. The Colorado River, the state's main water source, is at historically low levels. Cities like Phoenix and Tucson are imposing strict water rationing, and some rural towns are literally trucking in water to survive. The summer heat is becoming more extreme, with temperatures hitting 115 degrees Celsius or higher for days at a time. Public health officials are warning of a growing death toll from heat-related illnesses. The lack of water is also devastating agriculture, forcing farmers to abandon crops like alfalfa and cotton. Housing developments are slowing because new permits are being denied in areas without sustainable water access. Arizona's real estate market, once booming, is starting to stall. Home buyers are asking tough questions about long-term livability, and some insurance companies are already raising premiums in high-risk wildfire zones near Sedona and Flagstaff. Meanwhile, political battles over water rights with neighboring states are heating up, creating legal uncertainty for residents and businesses. In short, Arizona's combination of water scarcity, deadly heat, and infrastructure stress is making it one of the toughest states to live in going forward. The desert dream is starting to dry up. 6. New York: crime and cost. Spiral. New York is one of America's most iconic states, but in 2025 it's facing serious quality of life issues. Violent crime and organized retail theft have surged in New York City, leaving residents on edge. Even the subway system, once a lifeline for millions, is seeing rising incidents, making commuters feel unsafe. Outside the city, upstate communities are grappling with economic stagnation. Manufacturing jobs are scarce, and population decline is accelerating. Small towns are hollowing out as young people leave for better opportunities elsewhere. The cost of living in New York City remains among the highest in the world. Housing affordability is at crisis levels, and property taxes across the state are crushing middle-class families. Severe winter storms are also a growing threat, causing power outages and costly damages year after year. Flooding in the Hudson Valley and Long Island from rising sea levels is now a regular problem. For many, the combination of crime, high taxes, and climate risk makes New York feel less like a land of opportunity and more like a daily battle. Those who can afford to leave are heading south, while those who can't are left to cope with the challenges head-on. 7. Illinois: urban decline and fiscal crisis. Illinois, and particularly Chicago, has been battling challenges for years, but in 2025, the situation is worse than ever. Chicago's homicide rate remains high, and public safety concerns are pushing families out of the city. Businesses are closing early or relocating due to security fears. The state's financial crisis is deepening. Pension obligations are skyrocketing, and lawmakers are scrambling to raise taxes, which in turn is driving more residents and companies to leave. The population decline is accelerating, leaving fewer taxpayers to shoulder the burden. In rural Illinois, small towns are suffering from hospital closures, school consolidations, and a lack of investment. Meanwhile, extreme weather is hitting farmers hard. Spring floods followed by summer droughts are wreaking havoc on crops like corn and soybeans. Infrastructure is also a concern. Roads and bridges are deteriorating, and public transit in Chicago is underfunded, leading to unreliable service. While Illinois still has cultural and economic strengths, the combination of crime, financial instability, and climate pressures is making it one of the hardest states to call home in 2025. For many residents, the breaking point has already arrived. 8. Oregon: homelessness and natural disasters. Oregon's scenic beauty masks growing problems that are making it harder to live there. Portland, once celebrated for its livability, is now grappling with a severe homelessness crisis. Tents line city streets, and drug use in public spaces has eroded the sense of safety. Wildfires are another major threat. In 2025, record-high temperatures and dry conditions have made the state's forests tinderboxes. Air quality alerts are common in summer, forcing residents indoors for days at a time. Flooding in coastal towns and landslides in mountainous areas are becoming more frequent, adding to the cost of infrastructure repairs. Insurance rates are climbing in high-risk zones, and some residents are finding coverage nearly impossible to get. Economically, the tech sector's slowdown has hurt Portland's job market, while rural communities continue to struggle with limited employment opportunities. For a state once known for attracting new residents, Oregon is now seeing an outflow of population, as people look for places with fewer environmental hazards and lower living costs. Nature here is still breathtaking, but it's also becoming dangerously unpredictable. 9. Alaska: isolation and climate breakdown. Alaska is on the front lines of climate change, and in 2025 the transformation is impossible to ignore. Melting permafrost is destabilizing roads, homes, and pipelines. Entire villages along the coast are being relocated because of erosion and rising seas. The fishing industry, a cornerstone of Alaska's economy, is suffering as warming waters disrupt salmon runs and other marine life. Extreme weather is also making transportation unreliable. Storms can ground flights and close ports for days. Isolation adds to the challenge. Many communities rely on air or sea transport for basic goods, and when weather shuts down routes, shortages quickly develop. The cost of groceries, fuel, and utilities is among the highest in the nation. Wildlife patterns are shifting, affecting hunting traditions and local ecosystems. And while tourism remains a bright spot, it's increasingly seasonal and vulnerable to global economic swings. For those who love the rugged lifestyle, Alaska still offers unmatched beauty. But the logistical, economic, and environmental pressures are making it one of the most difficult states to live in year-round. 10. Hawaii: paradise under pressure. Hawaii's natural beauty hides growing vulnerabilities in 2025. Rising sea levels are eroding beaches, threatening tourism and coastal properties. Some iconic shorelines are disappearing, and flooding during king tides is damaging roads and infrastructure. The state's heavy reliance on imports means high costs for everything from groceries to building materials. Inflation has made living here even more expensive, with housing prices among the highest in the country. Tourism, the backbone of Hawaii's economy, is under strain from global travel slowdowns and local calls to limit visitor numbers to protect the environment. This tension is creating economic uncertainty for workers in hospitality and related industries. Wildfires, once rare, have become a growing concern, particularly on Maui and the Big Island. Combined with water shortages and an aging electrical grid, these risks are adding to the state's challenges. For many locals, the dream of living in paradise is clashing with the reality of high costs, limited job opportunities, and environmental threats. More residents are moving to the mainland in search of stability. These 10 states each have their own story, but the common thread is clear. Climate change, economic strain, and social challenges are reshaping where Americans feel safe. For millions, the decision to move isn't about wanting something better. It's about escaping something worse. Which of these states surprised you most? And if you live in one of them, what's the biggest challenge you face? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective could help others understand what's really happening. And if you found this breakdown useful, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dive reports.